everybody. Okay, let's see here. Get our things going. Well, hello everybody. Welcome to the show. It's nice to see you all. Okay, so today's show we're going to be talking about focus, release, and follow through, nailing your materialization magic to the material world. I don't have as much put into this one as I normally would. I was going to go ahead and postpone this until 5, but I figure we've been doing it at 4 every week, so people are used to it. We'll go ahead and go live with what it is. It's not as developed, but I have the full. I have in mind what I want to talk about. And as usual, before I go too much further, check the comments. There are links to my material goods, my own materialization, my classes, courses, products, sales stuff, all that stuff and junk that I like to try to make money with on the side side incomes and whatnot. So anyway, that's really all I want to talk about when it comes to money today. We're going to jump right in. All right. So one of the things that came up this week was we were talking. I was I was mentioned in a comment by Clifford Hartley Lowe on Facebook about the idea that I present that you have to be good and that self-development and the attainment of power go hand in hand, and one is dependent on the other. And I know that like last week when I was talking about obtaining the power of the planets, I talked about how you have to go through the process of actually transforming yourself and going through the sometimes painful process of cleansing those lenses that reflect the light of our source through into this material world where we can experience it, right? That's the main goal, is to be able to purify our lenses so we can express that light and create our world as we see fit, right? We go through the 7 planetary initiations. We introduce ourselves to the spirits. They tell us what is great about us or needs to be fixed about us in relation to the planet. They make those changes for us, or they help us start making those changes, and then we get to be able to channel more of that power or whatever into our daily lives. We understand how to harmonize that content into our existence in a more regular way. So that's the theory anyway. Yeah. So like the idea was that I was teaching that you have to go through this process of purification to obtain power, and they were bringing up, he and BJ Swain brought up the fact that you don't always have that in other systems, and that outside of the Western mystery tradition, it's not as likely to. Sorry, this is driving me nuts. This isn't quite. It's not centered. It's not going to be centered. All right, so. The idea is that when we go through these initiations in other cultures, there are people who obtain these empowerments, but they're not necessarily made holy and good or pure, or they don't get over their destructive tendencies. There are people who are very dark and very powerful, right? And they're able to channel the forces of Saturn and the malefics of the lesser malefic of Mars really well, right? And they're able to do that through their own system. What I call Mars or Saturn might be something different in their system. There's like the whole Dim-Mak thing, right? The serpent touch or whatever, the adder, whatever, that dark chi touch thing, or there's Arundel Overman has been going on about this guy who can start fires with his chi energy. He's working on obtaining that power, but anyway, there's lots of spiritual techniques that result in the ability to create physical manifestations of power that require incredible amounts of dedication, incredible amounts of focus. You have to give up your sexuality. You can't like screw around and have a good time all the time. Hello, Astrals. How's it going? Good evening. Sorry, I had something dripping off my thumb there. So let's see. The whole idea that you have to be pure to have power is not what I want to present, and I hope that's not how I'm coming across, and I apologize if that's how I'm coming across. I teach the great work, and the great work, in my opinion, involves the whole turning the excrement into gold, right? Turning the things about ourselves into something pure so that we can be healthy and heal the world and create things that we want to experience in a positive way. I focus on that because I think it's great. I think it's awesome. It's fun for me to be positive and have a good time. And like I said in one of the comments, I enjoy pissing people off who that bothers, right? Because like there's a big push from like EA Quetting and the Left Hand Path people when I was getting into magic. There was like a big push from the dark side of the forces of our occult sphere about all this great power you could have by focusing on your dark side and embracing your darker whatevers. And it's the antithesis of what the great work is about purifying yourself and cleansing out the things so that you can have more power. It's more about obtaining the power, right? So in my opinion, the people who get power through dark ways, right, or whatever, selfish ways, or people who have power but don't seem to actually have gone through any kind of self introspection or realization or anything, but they can still sure do the magic. What that points to me is that magic itself, or the occult power to manifest change with miraculous seeming ways, it's not related to your morality. Okay, there's no right or wrong filter over people's ability to change things. Instead, I think what we have in common with people who do the dark side things or have those intense experiences in these other systems that release this power or bestow this power upon them through these somewhat off-putting ceremonies, is how BJ put it. I'm not sure what those are that he had in mind, so I'm not going to speculate. But suppose that there's like a sacrifice involved and you have to do something that isn't comfortable for you or the people around you, and you make that sacrifice to obtain this power, and maybe it comes from a traumatic experience. Maybe it's not a great experience to be initiated. My argument is that no matter what you go through in that moment, it's going to purify your lens, and you're going to be able to focus that power that comes through that you're exposed to. The event of that initiation is going to create a wrapper, a shell, a cup, a holder to contain that power, that force that's been released, so that it can shape it and give it a way to manifest and materialize. Current is great. Like, you can have current running through wires, and it's lots of current and lots of voltage. But it's not doing anything. It's just running back and forth. It's just waves. It's potential. Until you put the current into a motor and turn a crank, it manifests things. Hey Joey, how's it going? Yeah, Cliff can come across that way sometimes. I like Cliff quite a bit, actually. He's been somebody who he's just always kind of been there for me in ways that I wouldn't expect. I didn't know that he would ever be on my side. I didn't think of him as a friend, but I have found him standing up for me in places when I wasn't there, and it's always been very positive for me. I mean, I know he's kind of dark, so it's not always necessarily positive, but it's always been good and beneficial for me, and I can't argue with that. So I appreciate Cliff very much. Yeah. So anyway, but yeah, the whole everyone else is an idiot, just ask it. That's exactly. That's how we all are. All the arrogant assholes in the occult. We really do believe that we know everything, and it's not because we do know everything. It's just because we think we do. And the fact that we think everybody else is an idiot is how we learned all this stuff, is because we see people screwing up their lives, and we're like, that's the wrong way. So we go out and we figure it out on our own, and that's why we think everybody's an idiot. And that's an ADHD thing, that's a mental illness thing. There's all these different reasons that you might think that everyone else is an idiot and you're the only person who gets it. Like, everybody's too slow, but you're faster because you have ADD. It's not like that, okay? I mean, you jump ahead to these conclusions, but you're usually wring because you didn't get all the information. You're not better than anybody else. We all think we are, though. So what? It doesn't really matter, in my opinion. I think I'm smarter than everybody else, and I talk about things as if I were. But I mean, it's how I make myself feel better about things. I mean, to a large extent, and I think that's true for everybody. We don't know everything. We know we don't know everything. It's just we just know that when we trust ourselves in anybody else, in anybody else's hands, it always ends up poorly, right? It always ends up poorly for us, and that's not because people can't be trusted. It's because people are always interested in themselves, because this eye in the cloud thing, that's us, right? We are this observer that's observing this manifestation of our existence through our consciousness, through our bodies, right? We're seeing ourselves manifest, and it's from our perspective. We're going to do it our way, for our benefit. And that's just how it is. It's not because we aren't compassionate. We can be compassionate. We love everybody else because everybody's another part of ourselves. But at the end of the day, we have to take care of ourselves so that we can take care of others. And we're the only frame of reference we have for everything that we experience, So, yeah, we have to learn to have confidence in ourselves. And magic teaches us that we're powerful, And when you start to understand how easy it is to, not easy, how consistently the universe manifests things according to your will when you do the magical rites properly that you've learned, once you start realizing that's a consistent result you can get, you do get arrogant. It's hard not to be arrogant when you look at everybody failing, trying to do things and not having it work for them, but you see that you can make things happen consistently because you do the same things over and over again, and then you start to feel like, oh, well, these idiots, but as long as you're comparing yourself to an idiot, though, you're not challenging yourself at all. You should always try to compare yourself to something higher if you really want to continue to achieve. Otherwise, you just stagnate. And the thing is none of us are smarter than anybody else. And the more we think we are, the harder it is when we come to terms with the fact that we're not, and some people have gone through it like myself, and other people have not, like other people, and that's fine, whatever. That's not my business. So anyway, but the concept of power, magical power, it's fascinating to me. Like in the animes, people who have more power can cast bigger spells, and when you get a bigger, if you increase your magician's levels in these video games and in these role-playing games, you get more powerful spells, right? So where's the analog in real occult practices? Like as I teach that as you do the great work, you get more power because you're more aware of how everything works, and I think that's how it works. That's the whole know yourself thing from Agrippa, right? This quote is one of my favorites. I will never get tired of this. This is the quote in Agrippa that sums up what Hermetics was to him. It's the knowledge of the self, so that you now know about that eye in the pyramid that sees its experiences through you, and that wills its experiences. Its will is manifested through your choices and your actions and your magic, right? Your magic is inspired by this eye, right? And it's you. It's your eye. You're the eye that is looking through yourself into your life. But understanding that is the most empowering thing. When you realize that you're the projector, you're the force that is projecting, you're the lens that you're projecting it through, and you're the sensory unit that's receiving everything, and also all the actors that are putting on the show and the forces that hold it all together. When you realize that all of that stuff is you, it gives you a position of power in the center of your magical circle or whatever. So it's this thing, right? Yeah. So in your magic circle, the Meister, the magician, stands in the center, but all these other things, the four lords of the corners of the world or whatever, the 10 archangels of the spheres, and the 10 whatever, what are they called? The legions of spirits that serve the archangels, the choirs of the angels, right? And all those things are depicted in this magical seal, the circle from the Lemegeton, right? And the 4 kings on the outside, the 4 elemental kings, right? So you've got your glyph of the universe. And when you understand this, when you've gone through the initiations into all those spheres, you have the access to all these powers. Your lens is clear. You're sitting in the center of this, and you're projecting this beam through all of space and time into the moments that you want to experience it, right? So that's what today's show is about. Is actually all about that beaming that light through your lenses into your life, and how to do it in a more effective way. So the potential to change things. I mean, get real quick before I get too much further. I don't think you have to do the great work to get power. I do think that if you have power as an occultist, a magician who does magic and has the world change, and if he says something or she says something or they say something, if you express something in ritual and the universe bows down and does everything it can to make that happen, that's power, in my opinion. That's my definition of magical power, is what I say happens. All right, and I'm old school Christian, right? Like, I'm not anymore, but like I was raised in Christian beliefs, and we learned that the prophet of the Lord is proven by whether or not what he says. If it doesn't happen, he's not from God. If a prophet of the Lord, if a man says he's a prophet of the Lord and what he says does not happen, you're to kill him at the gates because he's a fake prophet, and that's it. Success is your proof. Crowley, also raised as a Christian, very fundamentalist Plymouth Brother Christian, famously states that success is your proof as a magician. Is magic real or not? What you say, does it happen or not? That's your proof. So when it comes to the power of a magician, like everybody, like Cliff and I and people from all over, we can think about how powerful our occult leaders or whatever, our occultists are. Yeah, exactly. Abracadabra, I create as I speak. It's 418, right? That's the mystical number of abracadabra according to Crowley. The words are what we express. Anyway, kind of forgot where I was going with all that. But the point is you don't the power that you get as so your power as a magician can be measured by how quickly things manifest for you. Not necessarily quickly, but whether or not what you say happens. Yes. Okay. So if you say it's going to happen, if your statement of intent comes to pass, then you know that you've got the power or whatever as a magician. Doesn't matter what people say they can do or whatever. If you say something should happen in a ritual and then it happens, it's a success. To that end, I think that there are things that we can do to increase our success rates, right? There's something I've learned quite a bit repeatedly over the years, is that you have to get in touch with these higher powers, right? You attain the spiritual initiations and empowerments. They help make you more efficient, right? But then you have to start utilizing it and bringing it down into your life, right? And it's like, we'll go ahead and start with the elemental people, right? So like, let me get out of this and go into people. I say people. They're not people. I mean, they are people, but they're... no, that's the wrong one. Hang on. There we go. Okay. So, this is the 4 elemental kings from the clavicula clavis inferni, the clavis inferni, the Cyprian's whatever. It's the grimoire that has the 4 elemental kings, seals for the 4 elemental kings of the elemental world. Urias. You know what? I should look this up. I have it here right in front of me somewhere. It is. Let's see, Maimon, Edgin, Urias, and Payman. So those are the 4 kings. This particular image also has the serpent eating its tail. You've got the 4 seals of the demonic kings or whatever, the infernal kings, are outside of the circle. Sort of similar to the Lemegeton, they had the 4 pentagrams outside the circle. Those are the 4 elemental kings outside. Inside, they've got the circle that has the names of the angels that control these 4 kings and make them do what you want. Getting back to the, let's see, it was this one. Getting back to the Goetia. Oops. Yeah, the Goetia seal. This one, you've got the 4 kings on the outside, And it's not just the 4 angels that control it. Those 4 angels would be here. The Adonai is here, the Lord of the earth. That's what these are. Adonai means Lord. The T means it's like it's like a cross. It used to be the cross that Christ was hung on, but it's a theta. It's the foundation, right? Anyway, this symbolizes the Lord of the earth. So these might be considered the 4 controlling angels, and these might be considered the 4 kings or whatever. And then you've got your circle that says, what makes you holy or whatever. That represents the power of creation and manifestation, materialization. All that stuff is sort of very similar in all these different glyphs. But in my opinion, I very much do believe that these are all symbols of the magician, right? The magician's like your system of practice should be creating in you a harmonious approach to manifestation that is symbolized in these circles, right? So here you've got the magician in the center, maybe, or whatever, and you've got the serpent Ouroboros, the world, and the 4 demonic kings and angels are controlling them on the inner side of things, right? So I'm not, if you can't tell, I'm not a big Cyprian person. But these glyphs are representative of that process of manifestation, right? So how a thing comes into being from the unmanifest into the manifest. So my lovely wife Nicole is an archer. I'm not sure what the proper term is, but she is an archer, and she has she's been trying to teach me how to do archery for probably the whole time we've been together now, so for a few years now. And I think I'm getting much better as a result of her patient techniques of teaching me. And she taught me this method of shooting that I'm going to present here as a model for how to help you materialize your magic. Something that the more I learned about, basically after I sobered up, I got real into materializing my new life. And one of the things that I was able to focus on was turning the power of the 7 spheres over through my focusing on my intent, through my intentions and my words, into an actual experience in the material world. So it became very important for me to recreate my world very quickly. So and I was learning archery at the same time, and so it's like it kind of all came together, and so I'm going to present the method of materializing your world more effectively and more efficiently through the metaphor of archery. So when you're doing archery, when you're getting ready to take your shot, this is Nicole, and she's getting ready to shoot. Let's see, what other pictures do I have here? This is her getting ready to actually. She's putting the arrow on the bow here, right? And then we've got let's see, I saw that one. Yeah, so this is like after she's released it. So you put the arrow. You're preparing on thing. You're preparing to shoot. And the name of our show today is focus, release, and follow through. So the 3 phases that we're going to focus on is getting yourself focused, right? And you can see that as she's putting the arrow on her bow, she one of the things she taught me is you start to focus then, right? As soon as you take the arrow out of your quiver and you're putting it on your bow, all you're thinking about in that moment is hitting your target. You've started to you've started focusing on your target, right? And then the next thing you do is you draw it back and you aim and you get ready to you get ready to release, right? So here you can see she's got her hand is right here. This is her anchor point. She's got her arms out, her position, her muscle memory is taken over, her mind is focused, her eyes are aimed at the target. She has this this phrase that she teaches. It's aim small, miss small, or aim big, anyway, you focus on the tiniest part of your target. You don't aim like, you don't look at the big circle. You look at the very center of the circle, and as close to the very center of the circle as your eyes can focus. That's your target, the very pinpoint in the middle, right? So you focus your attention on that, and you aim small. You aim as to the smallest degree that you can see, and that's your focus. And you aim at that, right? Aim small, miss small. And she's totally doing all this stuff like right now. There's a stance, there's a breathing, there's a lot that goes into this moment where she's focused, right? And she's getting ready to release, right? And then she releases the arrow, right? And then after she releases the arrow, she stands there for a second, right? And that's the moment that is the follow through. So this is her in the follow through stance, right? So like she's already released the arrow. The arrows are flown through the air and hit the target in a split second. This was taken like right after you hear the thwack, right? You hear the thwack of the arrow hit. She's still standing there. She hasn't moved since she's released it, right? And what happens is if you train yourself to stand in that position, you don't move before you're done shooting, right? So this is why it's important to do the follow through. So we're going to take a look at how that is reflected in our magic. You know, like specifically the importance of getting your initiations into the material, into the elemental kings, and going through the process of connecting to the material world that way, but also how to focus, how to get into that point where you're 100% on your game, and all you're doing is focusing on your materialization, and then what the process is leading up to the release, when you release your magic, and when you actually what it means to do the follow through, and how to stick your point and stay with it all the way through, right? So yeah, so that's basically what we're going to be working on today. So we're going to start with the focus phase. All right, so the whole archery thing, it's something I learned late in life, right? The whole process is very Zen, right? It's not. There's a very technical approach to archery, and then there's a very intuitive approach to archery. Nicole is an intuitive archer, and she taught me what she knows how to do, and it was very intuitive. She's a Sag. She's very Sagittarian. Sag rising, Sag sun. I'm Sag rising, so I was able to kind of get it, but she's a lot better at it than I am, so it took a lot more practice for me. But the basic thing that you're doing is you're putting your eyes where you want the arrow to show up, and you're just letting everything else go through the motions for you while you're focusing on that, right? The focus is the key part of that. And for magicians, when we want to make a change in the world, what we do, we have to know what we want. This is like the biggest the biggest problem for so many magicians. Like after they go through the 7 spheres, they're like, okay, now what do I do? And I'm like, I don't know. What do you want to do? And they're like, I don't know what to do. How do I know what to do? And I'm like, I don't know what you want. I'm not the person that would be able to tell you that. We have to figure that out. That's the hard part. When you don't really know what you want, you're going to find yourself spinning. You're going to find yourself chasing money and chasing orgasms, chasing dopamine hits, chasing, always feeling anxious, always feeling under somebody else's gun, right? There's the position of authority from which you are changing your world and experiencing the results, and then there's the position of reactionary. You know, the person who has to respond to what everybody else is doing, who is creating their world, right? And sometimes, no matter what you do, you're always going to have to be responsive to somebody else's creation at some points in your life. But the more you spend your time and your efforts and your energies creating your world, the more everybody else has to respond to you. And it really is a matter of just cutting off your attachments to the world at large and to the people at large, and to supporting their great work, you know, because they don't need you to do their great work. We all help each other. It's great. We all get along. But nobody needs you to do their great work. They have everything they need to manifest their desires. We can assist, but really they're the only ones that really know what they want, or hopefully. So you let people do their thing. You can't do it better than them, right? And that's something a lot of people try to do other people's work better than they are doing it. Like, instead of trying to figure out what I want, I might see, like if I go in and I'm like, I'm hungry, I don't know what I want, and I look over and Nicole's making a turkey sandwich, and I'm like, oh, I can make a much better turkey sandwich than that. And I go, I'm making a better turkey sandwich. Whatever. That's just an example of how it seems like a lot of people are. They don't have an idea of their own, but they see you doing something, and they come in and they want to tell you how to do it better and how they would do it instead, and how you should be doing it because they think that's how it should be. And they could do it themselves, and they could tell other people how to do it, and they could do all these things on their own, but they don't. They never wanted to do it before they saw you doing it. And that's so annoying to me. I hate that. But people are there what they are. Yeah. So figuring out what you want is the hard part. I have a method to help you understand, or help me understand, that I use to help me understand what I want. I have a general idea at this point from a lot of meditation. It's a mantra that I use. I've taught it in my other classes. It's Zeus the head, Zeus the middle, Zeus the all in all. It comes from the Derveni manuscript. It points to this idea that we are all part of the same thing. The big mystery of the Orphic mystery cult that was referenced in the Derveni manuscript is that all the gods are Zeus. Zeus is everything. That you're Zeus, I'm Zeus, everything is Zeus. And in that unity, we find this, right? Whosoever shall know themselves shall know that all things in themselves, right? Because the unity is all of us, right? And when we're all part of the unity. The Derveni manuscript goes on to talk about how our rituals are offerings to create harmonies that are in accordance with our desires, rather than whatever else we might think they are. It's really, we understand that we're just manipulating the harmonies of things. And that's really what it becomes. It becomes a symphony. It becomes an orchestrated movement, and you're able to influence things, as many things as you can keep your eye on, but that's a matter of figuring it out. But every day, what helps is mantra. Finding the focus. The first stage is focus. Finding the focus comes from, for me, just meditating on the fact that we are all connected. It didn't come overnight. It didn't come day one. It didn't come first hour or even a couple weeks into it. But by saying Zeus ho Kephale, Zeus ho Mesos, Zeus ho Pantocrator over and over again, 108 times a day, I came to understand a way of looking at myself. And I'll just tell you what it is. It's, you put your head, or your conscious awareness up and behind yourself. You think, back there somewhere is my source. It's this eye in the cloud, or whatever. It's Zeus, the source of all. It's just the pleroma. It's the eighth sphere. It's whatever's beyond the eighth sphere. It's the source of light, life, love, and liberty in the universe. It's my source. It's bigger than me. It's there, and it is disassociated from everything. It is experiencing everything and observing everything, but it experiences it through this eye, through this witness function. It is the observer within us, but it is the source of everything, right? So you understand that that's there, and then you have the middle, Zeus the middle, Zeus ho Mesos, right? So Zeus ho Kephale means Zeus the head. Zeus ho Mesos means Zeus the middle. The middle part is all the spirits and everything that Zeus uses to materialize the world. And then you have Zeus ho Pantocrator. That's the actual experienced world, right? That's the third part, right? So when you say this mantra over and over again, you've got this thing behind you that is the head. Within ourselves, the middle is not just the spirits and all the stuff. It's our personality traits, right? So for Josh, Zeus, the head, is the source that's above and behind my head, that's looking out through my eyes and my brain and my memories, and when I want things, it's the part of me that is behind all the wants, right? The observer that's observing, that's giving me my impulses, right? That thing is back there, and then it goes through my emotions and my heart and my memories and my mind and my skill sets and my proclivities and my mother's words when I was a baby and my father's model that he lived and my sister's whatever that she did in Oklahoma and all this stuff that I grew up with and my own actions and my mistakes and my lessons learned, all that stuff. The eye sends this light through all these things before it gets to my awareness, and it comes through that filter, that middle, before it comes to my thought, my mind as a thought, right? So there's a source. It goes through Josh to become something that Josh can become aware of, right? And then, assuming I can figure out what it is, based on my clarity of reception, I can take that idea from this ideal version of me that's trying to experience what I'm trying to put out there, and I can start making it manifest. I can conjure up the spirits to make it manifest because I understand my 7 spheres initiations. I can make networking connections with it in the human world. I can figure out what physical resources I'm going to need to build the thing. I can start making the contacts and the actions and the preparations and the contracts and getting the money and doing the things to actually make this idea that I got from this part above and beyond me, I can start making it manifest, right? And then once I've got all the things put together and I'm ready to do the execution and the launch, that's when I do the release, right? And then it goes out into the world where it can be experienced. So it starts with this mantra. I tell myself over and over again that my whole experience is a 3-part thing. Joshua is not just the nose and everything that is behind the nose. It's the source, the Joshua, and the things that I experience. Me, between birth and death, me and my life, I am all 3 of those things all the time. Okay? I am just like Zeus the head, Zeus the middle, Zeus the all in all. That's me. I have a source that's a divine source somewhere beyond me, above and beyond my comprehension. Something comes through me, inspiring me, and then I build it, and then I can experience it. That is what Zeus the head, Zeus the middle, Zeus the all in all means. That's who I am. It's my cosmology. But it's also a process. It starts above, it comes through, and then it manifests, right? Focus, release, follow through. That's the 3 things I'm talking about today. But there's a 3-phase, a beginning, a middle, and an end to everything, right? It's a very simple system. But if you do this mantra and you start believing that there's a light behind your head that shines through your head and it illuminates the parts of your mind that it wants you to think about, that it wants you to be aware of, so that you can begin to process and manifest and materialize the things that it wants to experience. When you start to understand that your desires, the things you're thinking about, are coming from something higher and separate from yourself that is holy and unimaginably profound, that you can't begin to put into words. But if you understand that source is what your inspiration is, then your mind becomes a holy object that is being used to create something amazing for yourself, not for anybody else. You're not the god of anybody else's life. You're only the god of your own existence in this model. Okay, it's for creative purposes. It's to activate and empower yourself. All right. So when you start understanding that light, something happens and you get more light. And you get a clearer perception and a clearer perspective. And by meditating on the fact that you are channeling this light through everything you do, and you have been your whole life, and you will be the whole rest of your life. It's not something you have to try to do. It's what you already are doing. But gaining conscious control of that is done by seeing it first, and then feeling it, and then taking control of it, right? And Zeus the head, Zeus the middle, Zeus the all in all is a method of learning how to do that by getting that happen. All right. Hey, loved your Jupiter book. Big fan. Great. I'm glad you liked it. I'm not sure what the Jupiter book was for sure, but I'm glad it was good. where was I? Yeah, so the focus phase of getting ready to make your shot is when the archer takes the arrow out of their quiver, right, and begins that is the moment that you start to focus, all right. And when you start to understand that you're this eye and this source of light and this personality that exists to focus that light and the sensory unit that exists to experience that light as it is materialized, when you take that to your beginning point, you know, when you make that the start of your day, when you make that the foundation of your life, when you say, I am going to experience my life as if that were true, you start to see more of the light and you know what you want in a better way. Okay, you begin to be able to focus because you have this light inside of you. So the first step to being able to materialize things is have a daily practice that puts you in your place. Puts you in your place, not in your place of subservience or anything else, but in your place of power. Your place, your positional place of power in your universe as the center of it that manifests your experience. You start with your daily practice that puts you in charge of yourself. Okay? Mantra, affirmations, whatever. Do a daily meditation of the planetary powers of the day. Integrate those forces. Think about how you've been integrating them. Think about, imagine yourself getting more of them. Imagine yourself drinking from the fountain of Mars, letting the Mars energies flow into you, become part of you, and expanding your ability to control and influence and understand the forces of Mars as they materialize in this world. Do that every Tuesday. You are focusing that power. You're creating that in your life. Right? And to begin to manifest that, then when you go to you do this mantra every day, you get this idea of what you want. Like, I want to build a Hermetic retreat. I want to have a place where Hermeticists can go and, like an Airbnb, rent a place and do some magic for a weekend or whatever, or not do magic, just get the hell away for a while in the Pacific Northwest and enjoy themselves. I think that would be cool as shit. You know, and when we do conferences, we can do teaching, we can do healing, we can do spa retreats, we can do all kinds of wonderful things in this beautiful place as long as we can, right? Until we die, or until it gets ruined or whatever. We have time to enjoy it, right? So I want to do that. I got this vision of how to do it, and I'm building it a little bit at a time here and there, right? That came from this meditation, because the more I realized who I am in my position of power, the more I realized I can do whatever I want. And what is most resonant with what I want, with what makes me happiest and fulfilled in life, is something like a Hermetic retreat. It might not look like that when I'm done, right? It might not follow through on that, but my inspiration at this moment is this idea of that. So I aim for that. I aim small, right? So it starts with mantra. It starts with connection, with initiation and understanding, and this nebulous, I don't know how to put it. It's just knowing that you're part of something bigger, and that something bigger manifested as you on purpose to do something. And that something is whatever comes to you. It's going to come to you, right? It's what you want, you know? So anyway, the first part is focus. And getting focused is all about getting to know who you are in everything, all right? The next stage is getting up to the release. The next phase is called release for me, right? So you've done everything to get focused, right? You've taken your arrow out and you've drawn it back, right? And so when you shoot an arrow, you have to pull your arrow back, right? And you have an anchor point where you put your fingers every time. And every time you put your fingers there, it makes sure that the knock is going to be in the same place in relation to your eye and your arm. Your arm is out in front of you, right? Here, you know what? I've got a better picture than this. So my wife said, you should make a show about the archery thing. I'm like, yeah, you know, I need some pictures for that. So yes, all right. So here, so the anchor point is here by her mouth, right? So she puts that thing that she draws back the string, and she's got her fingers are right there. Anyway, every time it goes to the same place. So that's her anchor point. And then her arm can move left or right. It's out in front of her. That's where it aims, but she will always know where it starts from. Her arm is always in the same, her right arm is back and behind her head in the same position every time. Her muscles are all tensed and ready and holding it steady and everything. And when she's ready, and when you're doing this, what you're doing is you're letting your muscles take over. You trust your arm to go the right direction and to do what it needs to do. You're not consciously directing your left arm when you're aiming. You kind of like, the more you try to control it, in my opinion, the worse it gets, at least in my experience. But when you do it right and you just kind of trust your arm to do what it's supposed to do, based on where your eye is looking in relation to your anchor, everything else falls into place and it goes to the right place. And you visualize it going to the right place. Like I don't know how to put it. You will it to go to the right place. You're directing it with your consciousness before you release it. You're already picturing it landing in the center, and you're just looking at the center, and all of your awareness is on the next few seconds, right? And you're just like, the next few seconds, I'm going to release, and it's going to go into the center, and you're willing that to happen, and when you feel confident that it's going to happen, you let go. And in that moment, the arrow releases, and you hear whack. Now, what the person like myself does, the person who has not been doing this forever, they hold it back and then they release and they go, and you release and you look to see if you got it, right? Release and look up. Release and move a little bit. Release and look over a little bit, or release and look away. That's the worst, is release and look away. When you release it right. So this is what Nicole looks like after she releases the arrow, right? So it's like, let me see if I can get it. Yeah. So like this look of intense concentration that she has on her face, she's not holding the arrow anymore. It's already gone. It's gone, but she hasn't stopped looking at her target. She's looking at where the arrow landed in relation to where she was aiming, but she hasn't moved away yet. And what that does, and I think that they have like pictures of this. So if you keep looking there, your muscles don't move before you release. If you start to look away before you're done releasing, then you fuck up your shot, right? So the key to all this stuff is that follow through, right? But anyway, I'm sorry, I skipped ahead again. I keep doing that. But the release phase, everything leading up to the release, when you've got everything focused on that. And as a magician, we're talking about the part where you're actually putting your ritual together. Okay, this is when you're actually focusing. So you do the mantra, you get the idea of what you want to manifest. You start to understand yourself. You've seen the light. You understand what you're best at, and you're ready to start doing it. All right, you take your arrow out. And you've got your target in mind. You focus on that target, and as you draw it back, your anchor point is going to be your elemental kings. All right. So this is like where, when you look at the chain of manifestation, it goes down through the 7 spheres. It goes through the sphere of the moon, and then your idea materializes under the auspices of the 4 elemental kings, and they have legions of spirits and demons and whatever. Like, there's different grimoires that have different lists of all their spirits that help them do things. In the Greek mythology, you've got Aphrodite, and then you've got Eros, and I think it's just her. Well, anyway, she's got her assistants too. Like Eros and Cupid are her servants, and Ares has his servants, and okay. So every main spirit has their servants. The elemental kings have theirs. So the elements of the salamanders, the undines, the sylphs, and the gnomes, right? The 4 elemental kingdoms each have their own spirits, right? So when you take your idea and you've got this idea of what you want to manifest, you've taken it through the 7 spheres and descending through the different harmonies of the spheres, and they've obtained the powers of each of the archangels have granted your whatever, or the gods have all blessed your whatever, and all those 7 spheres are there. Then you turn it over to the 4 elemental kings, and you don't have to do it formally. Okay, for me, if you look at the table of practice that do I have one of those here? I may or may not have a table of practice in here, but there's a let's see, is it in, actually I think I do have it here. Hang on. Nope, I do not. Maybe I do. Huh. Okay, yeah. So here's the table of practice that I use for my magical practices and whatnot. Whatnottery. My whatnottery. So this is the table of practice. This is my symbol of the universe, and it's got the 4 elemental kings here. Around the center here, the 7 archangels around the outside circle. I'm on the outside of the circle, and then the triangle of manifestation is in the center. All right, so this is the inverse of that Lemegeton's circle, where the magician's in the middle, and everybody else is outside of that. The magician is the center of the universe. That's a model so that you kind of are reminded of where you stand in things. When you're actually doing your manifestation magic, though, you're not just standing there and holding up a light bulb and letting everything spin around you. For me anyway, I've taken the universe and I've flipped it around. And I've got, okay, here's my 7 elemental powers. They're going to be turned over to the materialization kings, the four elemental kings who have their spirits, and they're going to in turn make it manifest here in the material world, that triangle of manifestation. Okay, that's what the table of practice represents as a manifestation engine. Okay, so you take your statement of intent and you write it down, and you put it in the triangle. All these spirits are going to work on manifesting that. Okay, if you have a spirit you want to manifest, you put the circle, the sphere that you're going to conjure the spirit into the circle of manifestation, and all these forces that are represented on the table of practice force that into it. Okay, so going back to oh yes, this. So going back to the 4 kings of. Why is that not working? Yeah, the 4 kings here. Yeah, so I don't remember where I was going with this, but anyway, when you do your right, release, right? So the release phase, once you've got your idea and you've figured out what you want to do, the release phase is all the 7 spheres conjurations up to the moon, and then you turn it over to these 4 kings, and they go forth and to do that and manifest these things happening. When you use that table of practice that I was focusing on here, they're already present on that table of practice. They've been made part of that from the very beginning, and they're going to work on manifesting that. So the release is in ritual. The release is when you make your statement of intent. All right. So the structure of a ritual is, for me, I start with my mantra, I clear my head, breathe a few times, start with my mantra, Zeus the head, Zeus the middle, Zeus the all in all. Remind myself that I'm at one with everything, right? I go through the 7 spheres if I'm going through all 7 spheres, or I conjure the main sphere that I'm working with. Like if I'm doing a ritual of Aphrodite or Venus, I will conjure just the spirits of Venus. But usually these days I'm doing all 7 at once. So I've got a method of working with all 7 primary spirits or aspects of the 7 planets to manifest what I want, right? And after I do all the conjuration of the spirits and make the powers that be happy with me, then I make my statement of intent. And the statement of intent is the words that I use to wrap the powers that I've conjured together into my materialization. And then when I say, as you came in peace, so go forth in power, I turn it over to these 4 kings and let them go out and do it. So the focus on that very tiny center of the target is the meticulous development of your statement of intent, right? And the more time you spend learning how to express your desires accurately in words that can be understood by these spirits, the more successful you're going to be when you actually receive these things back to you. Okay, so all right, so after you've done this, right, that statement of intent is your moment of release. Okay, that's when you have when you have right. So this is when you're doing the conjuration. This is when you're ready to make your statement of intent. Once you've made your statement of intent, though, you keep your eye on the target. You don't stop looking at what you're doing. And what that means when in real life, right, when you do your ritual, you're going to sit there and you're going to do this conjuration. You're going to make your statement of intent, and then you're going to look for the actual materialization. And I don't mean like I'm gonna do a ritual to win the lottery. I'm gonna go buy a lottery ticket, and I'm gonna wait until the drawing comes. I'm gonna look and see if I won. You know, that's not likely to work for multiple reasons I'm not going to get into. But if you do a ritual to, all right, so I don't have enough income to buy my Hermetic retreat right now. I don't have enough money saved. I need to get more money saved, and to get more money saved, I need more income. I need more revenue streams. I need either more money per moment or more moments to make the same amount of money, right? So I either need more websites to make X dollars a month, or I need to have one website that sells enough things that makes a lot more money that I can, so I can start building a nest egg to put down my down payment on this property, right? There's steps to everything, right? So I do a ritual just for that nest egg to start to appear, right? Or maybe just for an opportunity to begin to get that nest egg, right? So I'll do a wealth ritual to obtain an opportunity to get that sizable amount of money in the time constraints, a reasonable amount of time for me to be able to prepare to manage that much money, to be able to handle the bandwidth to do the work without going crazy, and to be able to find a way to materialize it that isn't illegal, that is not going to cause harm to myself and others, right? So you do the ritual, and then you start looking for opportunities. You've made your statement of intent, which is, I want to have this Hermetic retreat in the next 5 years. I need X dollars. I want to have it by March of whatever, That's what I want, provide me with an opportunity. So then you keep your eye on that target, and you look at the world through the lens of your manifested desire. So I want a Hermetic retreat. I look at everything that happens to me first through that lens. Is this the opportunity that's going to get me what I need? Right? I'm going to be taking a test probably the day after tomorrow that gets me a license to perform some very specialized techniques or a skill set that I've been training on for the last few months. That's going to, if it works out, and assuming everything works out, it's going to be a huge opportunity that could blossom into this other thing, right? And what happened was, a year ago when I did the ritual or actually it was like 3 years ago when I did the ritual to, no, 2 years, no, might have only been a year and a half now that I think about it, but not, anyway, I did this ritual to start the process, and I met this guy who I hit it off with, and one thing led to another, and now I have an opportunity, right, that I would have missed if I hadn't been focused on the fact that I had just done a ritual, and then all of a sudden I had a new friend in my life who thinks about things the same way I do. I'm not saying I manifested him. He has a whole history of being alive before I came along, but we met at a time in our lives where we're able to synergistically work together and make things better, for ourselves and the people that we love. And it's worked out great so far, that focus, that follow through is the key, right? After you've done your ritual, you're not done. You don't sit down and wait for the results to come to you. Okay. Your experiences of what's going to happen are going to happen through your choices. If you do a ritual for love, you're going to make some choice that puts you in a position where you can meet somebody new. even if you want to just sit there and have somebody come to your door, you're still going to have to do something to trigger them coming to your door. Something's going to have to happen. It's not, I'm not saying okay, so yeah, maybe somebody knocks on your door that was looking for somebody else, I'm not sure that that's going to happen, but far-fetched. You're more likely to find something if you put yourself out there. I saw these fastness talismans, and I was selling them for like $325 and offering a money-back guarantee. And I stopped doing that. I only sell them for a lot less now, but there's no money-back guarantee because people don't want to do the work to get a new life. This guy bought one, and he's like, I want my money back. It doesn't work. I said, well, what'd you do different? He said, nothing. I didn't do anything a lot different. I bought the talisman, and I haven't had anybody. There's a girl I wanted, and that's the thing is he had one girl in mind that he wanted to fall in love with him. And I told him that's not how it worked, and he didn't believe me. And that's whatever. It is what it is, right? But I don't offer that anymore because people don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear how things happen. You have to look for your new opportunities when you do magic for new things to happen. Okay, if your life was going to produce what you wanted, you wouldn't have done the ritual. You wouldn't have needed to do the ritual. You'd already have what you wanted. Something's going to have to change for you to be able to have something different. Focusing on that is not taking your eyes off the prize as soon as you release your arrow. Keep your eye on that target the whole time. Don't stop. Keep your follow through in mind, right? So anyway, that was all I really had to say about that today. I think I don't think that was quite as well focused as some other things that I've done in the past. But I hope that made sense. The whole thing is about taking the time to figure out what it is that you want, keeping your eye on it the whole time, and letting all the processes and the magic, we get wrapped up in the initiations, we get wrapped up in the names of God or the names of the kings or all these different ways to do things, but we lose sight of the fact that we're trying to have fun with the magic. We're trying to create a life that's fun for ourselves. I posted sometime recently about how if magic is doing magic is like putting on your shoes before you go out and play, people worry that they haven't put their shoes on right instead of going out and playing, right? You do the magic, and then you have to look for the results in your material world. You have to make the changes for that to materialize. And it's not just expectation, it's taking that knowledge that we talk about in the first place, focusing, doing the mantra, knowing who you are in relationship to everything else. Once you have that intense experience of being connected to everything, you take that with you. You never stop having that experience. You focus all these powers and principalities of the seven spheres with the different aspects of existence and the harmonies that have to be combined to result in your experience. You do that without taking your mind out of the place where you are one, where you are the head and the person and the experience at the same time, all the time, and that's your focus. And it's being aware of your feelings without feeling your feelings. It's being aware of your thoughts and your memories and your experiences without being stuck in those, because you're actually above and beyond. You're disassociated, you're compartmentalized, you're able to view yourself from a 30,000 foot view because that's where you're actually sourced. You're looking down at yourself, through yourself, into the things that you're experiencing, and you maintain that as you're focusing on your desire while you're talking to these seven sphere spirits, telling these planetary spirits what to do. While you're doing it in the presence of these four kings, and you're telling the four kings to go forth and manifest these things, receive these instructions now. And that's something you tell the four kings to do the magic, to receive the powers from the seven spheres and to materialize them. It's a very important part of the whole materialization practice. And then you keep your eyes open for that. You do the follow through. You keep your eyes open for that opportunity to manifest, right? And it's not until you grab it and make it yours that you can begin to experience the results of your magic. All right. So, all right. That's all I have. Okay. Hope y'all have a great rest of your weekend. I am going to carry on with what I got. Take care.